Hello everybody, welcome to the second talk of the day. Please, we want to begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the second talk of the day. As you can see, I think this is a very interesting topic that most of us are interested. Today we have a researcher associated at the Museo of Paleontology of la América Escuela Normal de Coahuila, that we know is very famous because of his fossils, and of the Department of Paleontology of the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. She is mostly interested in the area of vertebrates, taxonomy, the fossil record, and environmental reconstruction. And in particular, she specializes in the taxonomy, and paleoecology of Mexican dinosaur faunas, with an emphasis on the biological and geological process that control the preservation within the fossil record. Currently, she is conducting different research projects concerning the native dinosaurs, faunas of northern Mexico, particularly in the states of Coahuila and Sonora. Regarding her academic production, she has 24 articles published in national and international peer-reviewed journals, 11 conference papers, 1 book chapter, and she has directed different bachelor's and master's theses. Additionally, she has participated in several national and international conferences, as well as in different outreach talks for the general public. Please give her a big applause to Dr. Claudia Serrano.
Well, hi everybody. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really excited to share some of our investigations that we have been doing here in Mexico regarding the dinosaur faunas from our country. So in order to start this talk, I want to begin asking the following question. Let's see, why is not moving? Oh, here. So why do we need to study the past? Well, the answer is quite simple, because the past is where all the answers begin. Answers to what, you may ask? Well, probably to all the questions regarding to our planet. For example, we can, through the use of the fossil record, we can answer several types of questions, such complex ones like climatic change. For example, does climatic change have ever occurred in our planet? Is there a way to stop it or to manage all these transitions that we are suffering right now? Are they the same type of factors? And we can answer these type of questions using the fossil record. But also, we can answer more simple ones, even funnier ones. For example, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And as you can see, we have an indisputable winner, because the amniotic egg, here, this one, the ones that we have every single morning, the ones that have hard shells, appear during the Upper Carboniferous, approximately during 318 million years ago, where the chickens, the galliform order, they just appear around 55.8 million years ago during the Eocene. Therefore, if we want to understand our future, we must first understand our past. And this is why the fossil record is so relevant. We remember that fossils are evidences of organisms that lived thousands or even million years ago. So they are some kind of, how do you say, some kind of tools that we can use in order to understand population dynamics and past communities, so we can reconstruct the ancient ecosystems. So today I want to talk about one particular group of organisms, which I think most of us are really excited. And this is the group of dinosaurs, these amazing creatures that once lived in our planet. So from the moment that the greatest naturalist, Sir Richard Owen, coined the term dinosaur using the combination of these two terms from Deinos, which means terrible, and Saurus, which means lizard, in the year of 1842, the dinosaurs became the most important phenomenon within the modern vertebrate paleontology. And why is that? Well, because they are considered one of the greatest evolutionary hits, because these organisms dominated the terrestrial ecosystems for around 160 million years. Can you imagine this? This is a huge amount of time. So the dinosaurs did whatever they wanted to do. I mean, they have different sizes, they have different morphologies, they conquer different habitats, and for such a long interval of time. And let me tell you something, here I'm not considering the group of birds, because birds are modern dinosaurs. So you can imagine these things just walking around during the Mesozoic era. They were amazing, amazing, amazing. So today I want to talk in particular about the Mexican dinosaur faunas. But first, I want to introduce you in a general way, how do we study them? So the first step for studying dinosaurs is to decide what type of dinosaurs I want to study. Yeah, because remember, dinosaurs lived during the Mesozoic era, and the Mesozoic era is divided into three periods of times: the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. So during each period of time, different dinosaur faunas developed. So, for example, if I want to study the late Cretaceous dinosaurs, the ones that lived during the last part of the Mesozoic era, I need to apply different tools in order to select and study area. Yes? For example, here I'm showing you a geological chart, which is quite colorful, as you can see. And in this chart is showing me the different types of rocks that conform our country. These types of rocks are linked to a particular color, and this particular color is also linked to a particular period of time. So for the Cretaceous, in this case, the color that is stated is the color green. So as you can see, we have several spots of green along our country. And then in this way, I can select a particular area. So, for example, in my case, I have been studying the dinosaur faunas from the state of Coahuila and from the state of Sonora, but particularly in Coahuila. Here, we selected this formation, the Cerro del Pueblo formation. As you can see here, is a beautiful place, a semi-desertical zone. And this formation, along with other 6 more, conform the Difunta group. And the Difunta group is the sedimentary field of the Parras Basin. This sedimentary basin is located at the south of the state of Coahuila and has a pretty good extension, an extension of 27,000 kilometers, and it has an east-west direction. What does it mean? That we have a lot of places to look for dinosaurs. Now, once I have decided that I want to study the late Cretaceous faunas, dinosaur faunas, and I have selected my study area, then we can start preparing ourselves for the field trip. So here I'm only showing some particular gear that most of paleontologists need in the field. So we need to use our maps, our hammers, our field notebooks, which are extremely important because here we are going to write down all the information that we gather in the field. Yes, some compass, brushes, picks, a Swiss Army knife, lenses, and of course a GPS. So once we have prepared, of course, that depends what type of work we want to do in the field. So we need to add more equipment. No? But in this case, the first stage or the first phase that once we got into the locality is to start prospecting. What does it mean, prospecting? Well, we as paleontologists, we don't get into the locality and start digging holes in order to look for dinosaurs. No, we don't do that. We start walking. As you can see, there's a lot, and it's a great extension, a great area for start walking, covered with these pointy and spiky plants, the cactaceae, for example. Yes, but we start walking around and start looking for these type of evidences, such as isolated fragments, bone fragments that are laying on the soil surface. But most times, these evidences lead us to this. We can start finding more complete bones. This is an isolated bone from the pelvic girdle. This is an ilium. but also we can start finding articulated or semi-articulated dinosaurs, such like this. This is a shin bone, this is a tibia, which is still articulated to the ankle bone, to the astragalus. But also, as you can see, these ones are on the surface, but also we can start finding these things. These also are some are two tibia, but you can see these bones are semi-buried. And most of the times, these are the ones, these spots are the ones that we are looking for because they're going to contain probably a complete dinosaur. Now, once we have selected the perfect area for the excavation, then we proceed to start digging around the fossils. And the first thing that we can do, as you can see here, is we start cleaning the surface. Where all these bones were lying, we take them apart, and put it in a separate part of the quarry, and we start digging down. But how we start digging? In the same level, yeah, from the top of the strata, the stratum, to the bottom of the stratum. So in such a moment, we can find, or we start finding the dinosaur bones, just like this. So we start cleaning all the matrix that are covering them, that there is covering them. And before we start collecting these ones, we implement a grid, such like this. Why do we need a grid? Because in each square, probably there's going to be a different set of bones. And this set of bones is going to provide us with a lot of information. What type of information? As you can see, these bones over here are kind of oriented, yes, in a particular direction, which means that a flux current, for example, these bones were preserved in a river channel, and the river, the flux of the river was had a high energy, so the bones were oriented. So in this case, we as paleontologists, we are kind of a particular mixture of time travelers, adventurers, and of course, forensic detectives. But in this case, we're trying to solve these crime scenes that occurred, in this case, 72.5 million years ago. So when we finish obtaining all the information that we need from this quarry, like, is this the same dinosaur? Is there some other types of dinosaurs here, other types of fossils, how the material is preserved, etc., etc. Once we have figured all that information and we have finished writing down in our field notebooks, and we take a lot of pictures, a lot of photographs, a lot of we draw sketches. Once we finish that, then we can proceed to collect the material, like in this case. So for the small bones, what we do is we take them, we wrap them with toilet paper, which is an easy way to protect these specimens, and we put it inside some plastic bags. Now we can write on the outside of the plastic bag all the information required, such as the name of the quarry, the name of the collector, which type of dinosaur is, etc., etc. But what we do with the bigger bones, it's something different, because as you can see, the bones are quite fragmented. So if we start to put them apart, like piece by piece, and wrap them independently, we probably were gonna end losing several of the pieces. So we don't do that. What we do is called jacketing. Just like when a person breaks a bone, like the leg or the arm, and the doctors put a cast in it, so to protect them. Well, we also do that for these bones, for dinosaur bones. So the first thing that we do is put some wet paper on the surface of the bone in order to avoid that the plaster mixture, when we put it on, adheres into the surface of the bone, and we can tear it apart. So we don't do that. So with the paper, the wet paper, it's like a protection for the bone. So next, we start digging around the bone in order to construct some sort of a pedestal. And while one part of the team is doing this, the other part is preparing the plaster mixture. We cut several stripes of cloth, which we immerse in this plaster mixture. And then we can start covering all the bone like this. Yes, like a perfect little package. Well, not as little, But then we left this to dry, and once it's dry, then we can break the pedestal, the base of the pedestal, using some picks or shovels, and then we turn it all around like this, so we can get it this jacket and get transported to the laboratory. So we can start phase 2 of our field trip. Now, in the lab work, this is really a cool thing to do, because this is when we start recognizing the bones and start studying them. So as you can see, one of the jackets here, we open it. This is a new dinosaur that we are currently studying. This is a really cool dinosaur. But what we do is start removing the rock matrix, yes, with brushes, with chisel picks, or we also apply pneumatic tools such as the air scribe. The air scribe is the similar tool that when you go to the dentist and the dentist start cleaning your teeth with this rotor machine, well, some sort of that type, that's the one that we use here to clean the material. So once we can also start gluing the bones together, because they are also broken, we start consolidating them, because some of the bones could be really fragile. And then when we finish doing all these type of things, the next thing that we do is start studying the material. Like in this way, in this case, these are different types of leaves, which we can start studying under the microscope. And for the dinosaur bones, of course, we can apply also microscopy techniques and other types of techniques that I will talk about them a little later during this talk. So when we have finished studying all the material, comparing with, for example, with other types of dinosaurs that have been previously described, in order to see if our material is new or it's the same type of dinosaurs that have been described for other countries, once we have finished doing that, then we can start typing our manuscript, sending to a peer-reviewed journal, and of course, if we are so lucky, it gets published, and the material goes into the exhibit of the museum. So in this way, this is in a general way how we study dinosaur remains here in our country, and of course in other parts of the world. So in this next slides, I want to show you some of the dinosaurs discoveries that we have found here in our country, in Mexico. Here it is a map where we can see different localities that have been found during the Cretaceous and during the Jurassic. So, but for this talk, I'm only going to talk about the localities from the Cretaceous, which are the most studied ones. The ones from Baja California, Sonora, of course, Chihuahua, Coahuila. So in this case, we're going to start looking at the material of the Saurischian dinosaurs, and what a better way to start studying the kings of the jungle of the Saurischians, which are the Tyrannosaurids. Tyrannosaurids material have been found in our country, in the states of Baja California, Sonora, and Coahuila in particular. Of course, unlike other parts of the world, here the Tyrannosaurid material are not quite complete. They are integrated by some isolated bones, isolated teeth. And in this case, in the Baja California, Dr. Ralph Molnar studied this material. This is a particular Tyrannosaurid, which he named Lavocania anomala. As you can see, it's like a medium-sized Tyrannosaurid. He reaches more like that 7 to 8 meters long. It was found in the Lavocana Formation from the Campanian. We're talking about 72 million years ago. And the bones that were discovered are the ones here in white. So you can see it's a really scarce material, but the important thing is that this material is quite diagnostic. So it was diagnostic enough to establish a new genus and a new species. Now, regarding the states of Sonora and Coahuila, we also have found some isolated specimens, some isolated bones, and particularly we have found teeth from adults and teeth from juveniles. In this case, here I'm presenting some of the material that we have been studying. And as you can see, these ones are from Sonora, these ones are from Coahuila, this is from Cerro del Pueblo Formation, this is from Lomas Coloradas and Corral del Medio. And as you can see, these three are quite similar. I mean, if you can see the serrations, they look like cylindrical. They are characteristic of Tyrannosaurids. But in the case of this little fellow, as you can see, the serrations are quite different. They're a smaller one, and they have a funnel shape, just like this. Instead of being cylindrical, these are funnel shape. What does it mean? This means that we have different types of tyrannosaurs. So this is really cool because it tells us about the diversity of these creatures who once lived in our country. Now, for example, if we compare the material from the Sonora state, we can see that these ones from Lomas Coloradas are quite huge. They're quite wide, just like this one. It's a beautiful teeth. As you can see, this is really, really wide. Unlike this one from Corral del Medio, which is quite slender, as you can see here. This is laterally compressed. What does it mean? Well, that the widest ones from Lomas Coloradas not only could cut meat, but only could crush bones. Yes? In the case of the Corral del Medio, these teeth cut the meat only. So this shows us the different strategies that all of these Tyrannosaurus did in the past. So this is really cool because, as I said before, it tells us about the diversity of these animals that once lived in our country. Now, let's move on into another Saurischian group, in this case, the theropods, that are called the Ornithomimosauria. Ornithomimosauria, they look really weird. They look like some ostriches, big ostriches with long tails, for example. And these are divided into two families. The first family is the Ornithomimidae, which are some kind of these type of dinosaurs, which appear often, quite often in movies, for example, or TV shows. They're the ones like running like crazy. And these were designed specifically for running. They were slender, they had slender bodies. And in the case of Mexico, we found this little fellow, which is called Tototolmimus pacardensis. This is from the state of Sonora. We found it in the Packard Shale Formation, also from the Campanian. So as you can see, the Campanian was a really cool time period for us because the diversity of dinosaurs were really huge. And the types of bones that we found corresponded to the feet and to the hands, which are really cool because these dinosaurs have diagnostic hands and feet. So that allowed us to name a new type of dinosaurs for Mexico. And the importance of this dinosaur is that it corresponded to the first ornithominid described for our country. It had probably between 2.5 to 3 meters long. So it is really, really nice dinosaur. Now, in the state of Coahuila, we have also found this type of dinosaur material, but until now, we have found isolated bones. Just like this, this is a thigh bone, the distal end of the thigh bone, which is called the femur. We have also found some some claws of the feet, which are called pedal unguals, isolated caudal vertebrae. But this material can tell us about the sizes of these particular dinosaurs, which are quite different. So also they're showing us a little about the diversity. These ones are from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation. Now, the other family that is included within Ornithomimosauria, it's called the Deinocheridae family. Here I'm presenting you Paraxenisaurus normalensis. This was a dinosaur that we have the honor to describe and publish in 2020. But this is quite different to the ones that I have already shown you. This one is also from the Campania, from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, but look at this little fellow. Well, not that little. Look at the size, 5.6 meter long. This is huge. This was a really cool monster. We also found several types of bones from the feet, from the hands, from the tail also. But the most important thing about Paraxenisaurus normalensis is that this represents the first deinocherid described for Mexico, but also for North America. In the past, the Dinocaridae family was only found in Asia. So we thought that these dinosaurs only live over there. But now that we found Paraxenisaurus, we can establish different migration routes from Asia to North America and then from North America to Asia that brought us this type of dinosaurs. So we can feel real proud about this discovery for our country. Now, if we compare Paraxenisaurus to the other ornithomimids that we have found, well, you can see this is the distal end of the femur, of the thigh bone. This is a monster compared to this one, right? This is really robust, has a really robust bones, just like this. This is the distal end. This is the caudal vertebra. These are the unguals, but look at the articulation part of the ungual. This is really wide compared to this one. So this was really a monster. So really cool to find. Now, moving on, we now are going to talk about a new group of dinosaurs that we just described last year, the Oviraptorosaurs, which if you want to compare them with an extant group of birds, they're quite similar to the cassowaries. However, they are not related, they are not phylogenetically related. So they are similar because they have this cool crest on the skull. But in this case, we found also scarce material. These are shin bones, part of the shin bones, tibia. They're also from the late Cretaceous, from the Cerro del Pueblo. But the importance of this discovery is that these represent the southernmost record of the family, particularly the Caenagnathidae family, for North America. These creatures were previously described in Canada and the United States, but now we have them here in our country. And of course, they were the first specimens described for Mexico. Now, what have we know about this material? That at least we have two morphotypes, a bigger one, which probably measure up to 2.5, probably 3 meters long, and a smaller one who measure less than a meter. And of course, we have another material that suggests the presence of a third morphotype that could be like an intermediate size, but we're not sure. We need to study more and to find more of this material of dinosaurs. Now, let's move on to the next group, which are the Parabians. And the Parabians are really cool because they are also featured in several movies, in several TV shows, which are the dromaeosaurids and the velociraptors and all that kind of beautiful stuff. So the first family that we have found here in our country is the Troodonts, the Troodontidae family, which are also from the Campanian. These material are from Coahuila. This is from the Aguja Formation, which is a little older than the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, as you can see here. But look at these teeth. These are teeth. Most of the material of Parabian material is also integrated by teeth, but some isolated bones have been found also. So in the case of these teeth, these correspond to the genus Troodon. And as you can see, they're different. They're different. They're also telling us about the high diversity of these Parabian dinosaurs that we have in our country. Yes, so you can see the serrations. These are huge. These are wide. These are less wide. So this is a pretty cool material to study. The next genus that we have found is this one, Saurornitholestes. This material is also from the Aguja Formation, and these ones over here are from the Cerro del Pueblo, all from Coahuila. But as you can see, the Saurornitholestes material in the Aguja Formation are different, so they're also diverse. So this is really nice. In the case of the Cerro del Pueblo, the teeth are not so well preserved compared to these ones, but here we have found manual claws, just like this one. Of course, they're small, smaller than this, the one that I have already showed you. So this is really cool. Now, we have found other types of Parabian groups. We think we have some type of velociraptorians, but this is a material that we are studying up to now. So we need to get a little deeper into the description. So if we are lucky enough, probably we could send a paper during this year. Now, here I have show you all the non-avian materials. Now let's start talking a little bit about the avian dinosaurs, the birds, the Cretaceous birds. So We have here in the state of Coahuila a beautiful locality that it's called Rancho San Francisco. But as you can see, this is a different formation. But the importance of this locality, as you can see, 66.1 million years ago, which means that in this locality, we can find the Cretaceous Paleogene limit, the limit where marked the fall of the meteorite that struck the Earth and vanished all the non-dinosaurs. So this is a cool place to study because all these Cretaceous birds were living below the Cretaceous Paleogene limit. So they can tell us about the diversity and the dynamics of the communities that were present just moments before the meteorite struck the Earth. So this is really cool. The particular paleoenvironment that we have found here in this locality corresponds to an estuarine kind of environment. And the other thing that this locality has, instead of we have found bones, instead of finding bones, the things that we have found is footprints. But we have different kinds of footprints, of bird footprints. As you can see here, I have 3 examples of them. We assign to a previously described ignogenous, like this one. These are the reconstruction of probably the feet that left these beautiful, beautiful footprints. As you can see, all the fingers, these are the membranes, the interdigital membranes, and like this, and these are the reconstructions. So when we will start studying these footprints, we start comparing them to extant birds. Yeah, and we found some sort of similarities with the Anseriformes order, which includes all the dogs, all the geese, and these ones are quite interesting. The Anseriform order originated during the Cretaceous, so we are quite certain that some early members of this order were the ones that left this kind of footprints. But in this case, the Pelecaniform order, particularly the Ardeidae family, which contains the herons and the egrets, well, this appeared during the Cenozoic. So in this case, the producers of these footprints were different, with different kinds or different types of birds. Therefore, we can only compare them in, as we said, ecomorphologically. What do I mean with this term? That we were thinking about similar types of producers, but that were not necessarily related phylogenetically. Yes, so we're saying these footprints look alike, the ones that the herons and the egrets live, but we're not stating that those were exactly the producers, the bird producers that left those footprints in this Cretaceous locality. Now, in the Rancho San Francisco, there have been other findings, different types of footprints that also have been ecologically, morphologically compared to these groups like plovers, seagulls, ibises. Yeah, these are the egrets and the herons, and these are the magpie blues. So as you can see, in that moment of time, in that specific moment of time, we have a really cool diversity of Cretaceous birds here in Mexico. Now, we have finished with the theropod dinosaurs, which are really cool, but also in Mexico, we have the presence of sauropod or long-necked dinosaurs, just like these ones. And in particular, for sauropods, we have found a lot of localities that contain also footprints, but these are located mostly in the state of Puebla, for example, and we have some localities, or what we think, in the state of Chiapas. But in the case of the northern parts of our country, particularly the state of Chihuahua, there have been some findings about bones, but unfortunately, they are housed in particular collections, so we don't have access to this material too, so we can study it. But some other researchers have found teeth from these organisms. So as you can see, the sauropods' teeth were not designed for chewing, just for grabbing vegetation and to swallow the vegetation. They look like funny, some sort like Cretaceous pencils, as you may say. These are were related to the genus Alamosaurus, the species Sanjuanensis. These are from the Javelina Formation, from the lower Maastrichtian. So These specimens, unfortunately, are really scarce for our country, but in comparison with other types of dinosaurs. Now, we put aside the Saurischians, so we can now start talking about the Ornithischian dinosaurs, which are also quite interesting and are the most abundant here in our country. Particularly in the northern parts, the most abundant dinosaurs are the duck-billed dinosaurs or the hadrosaurs. In this case, this beautiful specimen that you are looking here corresponds to Latyrrhinus wieslani, which is one of the most iconic dinosaur or Mexican dinosaurs here, because it was the first specimen to be collected and prepared by a team of Mexican researchers. So this is really cool. I have the privilege to study this material with Dr. Prieto Marquez during the year of 2012, when we assigned it to a non-crested hadrosaur, but we continued the investigation, and the last year in 2022, we redescribed the material and we assigned it into the crested hadrosaurs. Yes, as you can see here, it is a little crest. So it's a lambassarin. The size of this dinosaur, well, probably from 6 to 7 meters long, also from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, and it is from the Campanian. But also in the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, there have been other types of discoveries of these lambassarin hadrosaurs, such as Velafnos coahuilensis. This one over here corresponds to a sub-adult, if you might say like an adolescent hadrosaur, which they were estimating a size between 5 to 7 meters long. And how do we know that this is a sub-adult? Because the crest, the skull crest, is not completely developed. In comparison, for example, with other new or the most recent discovery of dinosaurs, it was named Platolophus gallorum. It has a beautiful, look at this crest, this is magnificent. And the size of this dinosaur is almost like 8 meters long. It is also from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, as you can see. But if you ask me if we have bigger hadrosaurs, of course we do. And these are only compared in size to the ones that we have found previously in Asia. For example, in the state of Baja California, this magnificent beast is called Magna Paula laticaudus, and as you can see, it measures 12.5 meters long, and it was collected in El Gallo Formation. It is a huge animal, and as I said to you, it is only compared to the ones that have been previously found in, for example, Mongolia, in China, which are huge hadrosaurs. Of course, we have found other types of material, but unfortunately, these materials haven't been diagnostic enough in order to establish new types of dinosaurs or hadrosaur specimens. But in the case of hadrosaurs, as I told you before, these are the most abundant dinosaurs for our country, and we have found also little babies, and this is a material that we are working currently on. Now, in the case of the horned dinosaurs, the ceratopsians, these are also really cool. Here we have some representatives of the two families, the Chasmosaurian family and the Centrosaurian family. In the case of the Chasmosaurian family, these were characterized by the presence of long horns over the orbits and long frills, which were kind of some sort of shields that covered the neck, and they were used for protection, but also for display. So this is really cool. In this case, in the case of Coahuila, for the Campanian of Coahuila, again, the Cerro del Pueblo, we have found Coahuilaceratops magnacuerna, which is a really big ceratopsian, 6 meters long. But look at the size of the horns, of the orbital horns, 1.20 meters. It's huge. This creature has the longest horns of all ceratopsians in all the world, worldwide. Yes. Now, in the other case, the other subfamily that we have found is the Centrosaurian, which has short horns over the orbits and short frills. But the frills in this case are quite ornamented, because as you can see here in the Chasmosaurian, the ornamentations are really small, but in the Centrosaurians, they were really spiky. These ornamentations were really long and have different shapes. So in our case, we have found Jegocauceratops mudei, As you can see, this is a smaller dinosaur, 3 meters long. This is from the Aguja Formation. And well, this part corresponds to the frill, like something like this. So we also have a really good diversity, or well, at least we have representatives of the two subfamilies of horned dinosaurs. Now, in the case of the body armor dinosaurs, we also have some representatives, some finds here, also from the two families. In this one is the Nodosauridae. As you can see, they were heavily body armed with these osteoderms. These are really cool. This dinosaur, in particular, this is Acantholipan gonzalensi. This is from the Santonian. This is an older dinosaur compared to the other ones from the Campanian, from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation. This is from the Penn Formation. And the cool thing, this structure here is this spike, this spiny structure that was, well, these researchers assigning that it was located more or less in the pelvic area. But now there are other researchers that are stating that these spikes were probably located on the arms or on the over the shoulders. Yeah, this is the Nodosaurid. Now, in the case of the Ankylosaurid, the ones that have a huge mace on the tail that have been portrayed like when they fight with, for example, with Tyrannosaurids, this mace hit the shins of the Tyrannosaurids. So these are the type of Ankylosaurs that we have here also in Mexico. But unfortunately, the only bones that we have found belong to this family are isolated osteoderms that belongs also to the body armor. These ones are from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation, also from the Campanian. So we have found other types of dinosaurs, of course, but unfortunately, the material haven't been diagnostic enough. But in the general panorama, as you can see, we have a really cool diversity of dinosaurs here in our country, which is a huge, huge thing to say. Because in the past, people said that in Mexico, there weren't dinosaurs. Or if they were dinosaurs, they're going to be the same ones that were found or previously found in the United States or even in Canada. And that was the type of thinking that prevailed for a long time. But when these discoveries start to occur and more paleontologists were interested in studying this material, we can see that we have different types of dinosaurs, particularly from the Campanian. As you can see, the diversity is really high. And here we have some of the published genera, the new genera. As you can see, the Cerro del Pueblo is the one that has the most new types of dinosaurs here, and also from other formations of different states of our country. But the coolest thing is that we have a lot of endemic dinosaurs. So if you ask me, in comparison with other countries, particularly the United States or Canada, we only share up to now like 2, maybe 3 genera, but the other dinosaurs are endemic. So we can say that our country is a place where our proper dinosaurs were thriving in the past. So now what's next? So the studies of Mexican dinosaurs in the 21st century not only are related to the taxonomic part, which is like the foundation of all these studies, because we need to know what type of dinosaurs were present in our country. But also, right now, we are making some multi and interdisciplinary studies in order to start developing paleoecological models. What this means is that we take the taxonomic part of the equation and put together with other types of studies in order to reconstruct the ancient or the deep time ecosystems that prevail in our country. For example, this one from the Cerro del Pueblo Formation. So in order to do that, we are applying new type of methodologies. These are some of the most common, some statistical analysis to see how our material behaves when it is compared with other dinosaurs that have been previously described. Of course, phylogenetic analysis. This one is from Totodolmimus, to see how our dinosaurs are related to other, for example, in this case, ornithomimosaurians. So these are common types of study that we can that we need to put into our investigations, but also we are experimenting with new types of methodologies, such as thin sections. So we cut the bones, we make thin sections so we can study under the microscope to see different types of, to seek for different types of information, such as fossil preservation. Yes, how these are, for example, bone cells. So we can start going deeper about the physiology, growth development, but also we can apply different type of analysis such as infrared or even scanning microscopy in order to see how the mineral composition of the bones or of the material is. So in this case, we are interested in knowing about if we have some original organic components in our bones, in our dinosaur bones. So as you can see here, we still have some calcium, some phosphate, some potassium, maybe manganese, magnesium, and even we keep finding these strange minerals such as barite, which is barium. And we have doing more research about these type of materials. And for example, we have found that the barium is precipitated by different types of bacteria during the decomposition of the carcasses, when the composition of the carcasses occurred in the past. So this is really cool and can bring us a lot of taphonomical information, which means the conditions of when the dinosaurs were preserved in these sedimentary environments. Now, other types of information that we can gather from the bones is something like this. We can look for predation or scavenging activities in the dinosaur bones. This is a humerus. This is this bone over here. And as you can see, it has some cool scratches. This is a rib that has also punctures that have furrows. This one is also a puncture, and then the teeth just pull into the bone. So comparing these type of evidences with extant animals, we came to the conclusions that, for example, these ones were produced by crocodiles, and these ones were produced by smaller dinosaurs such as dromaeosaurids. So we can start putting the pieces together from these paleoecological relationships that were in the past, were happening in the past. But also we can have some other evidences such as trampling, when all the bones, when these animals were feeding on the carcasses, the bones were stumped, so they have different orientations in the strata, such as, for example, this rib that has a complete vertical orientation compared to this one, which have an horizontal orientation. Also, we check other type of features on the bone, such as, for example, the type of different fractures. That these fractures, we can make some assumptions if they were produced when the bones were fresh or when they were already mineralized. So we have a lot of information to play with. And also, of course, we can go to a more macroscopic phase. So in some dinosaur bones, we have detected the presence of scavenging activities and even reproductive activities of different group of insects, such as carrion beetles, named as dermestids, and also by termites. We have recognized different types of structures, such as holes, notches, even tunnels, but also pupal chambers, who told us about the reproductive cycle of these, particularly in this type of beetles. And also we have found other structures that are called rosettes, which were produced by termites that were feeding on the surrounding of this kind of bone pedestal, and all the bone that its surrounding was consumed. So this is really, really cool. And also, of course, we can find a lot of other feeding evidences, such as regurgitates, which are fossilized vomits, as you can say, and coprolites, which are fossilized feces, which also can tell us about the habits of the feeding habits of these amazing creatures that lived in the past. So in order to finish this talk, every single time that a person comes to me, approaches to me and tell me, hey, Claudia, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it, all the effort you put in going into the field, walking long distances under the burning sun in order to find these pieces of evidences? in order to find these fossils. Every single time I'm going to say, yes, of course it's worth it. And rephrasing George Gaylord Simpson, which has been one of the most productive and important paleontologists, vertebrate paleontologists of all times, he said beautifully, a fossil hunter doesn't kill, a fossil hunter resurrects. So we as vertebrate paleontologists have this amazing opportunity of bringing, in a figurative speaking way, bring back to life all these amazing creatures that once lived in our planet. So of course, it's always worth all these sacrifices, even when we lost some of our boots during the trajectory. So what will be our next discovery? Well, we are preparing a really cool investigations, and we kind of are excited to show them to you, and we are hopefully to show them in this year. So this story will continue, and thank you so much for inviting me to participate into these amazing activities. Thank you. So if you have questions, of course, I will be glad to answer them.
Hello, Doctor. It was a very interesting talk. Most of us enjoyed it a lot. We wanted to open a question section. If anyone have questions. Yes, we have a question. I don't know if you can hear us. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I have a question. Is there any particular reason why you are studying dinosaurs in the north? Is it because, I don't know,
yeah.
Just because I am thinking perhaps, I don't know, in the center, in the south in the country, there is some sort of field research as well?
Well, the main reason is because in the north, we have all the perfect conditions to seek for dinosaurs. And in particular, the Cerro del Pueblo formation, it's all the material is really abundant, and it's also really diverse, as you can see. So in these places, we have less vegetation, less vegetated areas. It's more simple to start finding the bones. So this is one of the main reasons. Now, in the center of Mexico, or even in the southern Mexico, well, for example, in the southern, so the places must be covered with vegetation. So this, I mean, there are localities of dinosaurs over there, but they correspond mostly to footprints, for example. And in the case of the material, well, this is really scarce and it's really broken. But in the north, we have found not a complete dinosaurs up to now, but mostly complete. So it's a little simple to study them over there, because particularly the abundance and the diversity of the material.
Okay. Any more questions? I have one question.
You have one question?
Yeah, I want to ask, what do you think about this like step of investigating ancient organisms, about the extinction procedures, or that like revolutionary part of paleogenetics to try to like revive organisms?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, sure. I want to know, what do you think about that part of the extinction, that like initiative of revive ancient organisms?
What do I think about the extinction or reviving the organism?
Yeah, the extinction, that like experimental part of revive.
Oh, okay. Yes, well, right now there are several teams that are experimenting in reviving these animals that live in the past. In sort of a way, this is quite exciting, right? Because, hey, who wouldn't want a dinosaur, a non-avian dinosaur in our house? But also, it's a little complex to state because you're bringing back to life these organisms that were adapted for a particular environment during the past, and you're bringing today. So what are you going to do with these animals, right? I mean, we have seen different types of movies, like Jurassic Park, for example, that what can go wrong. And of course, this is all imagination. It's really complex to do, of course, because as you know, the genetic material is really broken. When you go back in time, it's not that, it doesn't have a good preservation. But what we keep finding is that some of the bones, they have preserved some of the organic original materials. For example, they have been looking for proteins, different types of proteins. They have been looking for keratin for pigmentation. So we're trying to understand this part of how the conservation went. Now, when you try to put genetics in this mixture, well, it's, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't like to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I would like to study how all these changes, all these evolutionary changes were performed in the past, how the genes were changing. So this is some of the experiments that have been currently doing currently other colleagues in the field, but also to re-engineering a new dinosaur. I don't know. It's well, for now it's just I think it's like a dream, but I don't know. We concerned with the ethical problems. How will you maintain them? You don't know what type of diseases these creatures may have. I don't know. So it's a particular and delicate thing to do. So right now, when we talk about with other colleagues in these meetings, international meetings, of course, we are like, some arguments favor this type of postures, but others, most of them are against these postures. So this is quite a difficult thing to talk about, but we'll see what happens. Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Serrano. Another favor that we want to ask is for letting us have a picture with you. You are in the big screen right now. So if you can stay just a little bit so we can take a picture of our students with you.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Back there.
Well, people really enjoy giving us a talk.
I couldn't hear, I'm sorry.
Yes, there's a lot of noise, but we thank you so much for your time. It was a very interesting talk. Learning about all the diversity that we have in dinosaurs, it was amazing. I didn't have the idea. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. So hopefully we will have you in another occasion to talk about your.
Yes, sure. Well, right now I was working another in a project here. That's why I couldn't be there with you, but I will be happily to give another talk for you. And of course, thank you so much for this opportunity to participate in this STEM week. And really, I would love to do one more time, of course.
Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.
You too. Hola, Bernardo. ¿Cómo? Qué bueno que les gustó.
A ver si luego en la próxima, hay muchos estudiantes de biotecnología y ver así, a lo mejor cómo compaginar un poquito lo que de lo que es muy poquito al final de estudios moleculares y cosas así. Es posible,
Okay.
es posible. Entonces,
Sí.
en alguna otra ocasión,
Claro que sí.
algo presencial para que nos toques el campus, todo.
Sí, estaría muy
Claro, claro, con mucho gusto, por supuesto que sí. Te digo ahorita porque realmente no pude ir, pero pero por supuesto cuando me inviten, ahí estaremos. ¿Eh?
Gracias, Claudia. Un abrazo.
Gracias, igualmente.
Rápidamente, nada más.
Sí.
Estaba aceptando. Si en algún momento se falló, se parece social.
Híjole, ¿sabes qué? Es que es como que se medio corta la señal, entonces, háblame un poquitito más fuerte y sí, con mucho gusto.
Claro, quería saber si de casualidad están aceptando o en algún punto piensan aceptar gente para prácticas profesionales o servicio social.
Ah, sí, sí, sí. De hecho, tenemos 2 estudiantes que están trabajando con nosotros en Coahuila, pero sí, 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 sí. Ya sea a nivel de licenciatura, ahorita también tenemos algunos estudiantes de maestría, entonces sí, sí podemos compaginar algunas cosas interesantes.
Ya tenemos su correo, yo creo que pues en cualquier caso lo compartiremos y si alguien está interesado le mandará.
Claro que sí, con mucho gusto, aquí los atendemos. ¿Eh?
Ok, muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, chicos. Un placer. Que estén muy bien. Hasta luego.
Gracias.